2016 NBA draft coverage. The big spoiler out of this morning is that the Philadelphia 76ers intend to draft Ben Simmons #1 overall, which I kind of tweeted out at the time. Water is wet, FIFA's corrupt, and yeah, the sky is still blue. Because and I understand the hype around Brandon Ingram. I understand why Brandon Ingram could have been a #1 overall pick, but I think because Ben Simmons didn't play in the National College Athletic Association Men's Division I basketball tournament, people forgot. They kind of had a long period where they don't see that as a prospect, Ben Simmons' passing ability and his rebounding and his size and the ability to play more than just one position. Of course, he doesn't have a jump shot. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to lose my mind. They can develop jump shots in the NBA. It's a crazy idea that, they go to play basketball. Maybe that will become a development process for him. But all right, so before we get at Andre, as you can see on screen, is here with me, rocking the Dayton hat, rocking the LeBron James jersey, soon to be rocking the Ben Simmons jersey, possibly. We don't know. We don't know. But let's go to the mock draft, which I actually took from Hoops Hype this time around. And this is their top 10 projected, given that Ben Simmons being taken still #1 overall. We don't know. Maybe there's a draft day trade, but as of right now, he's going to go #1. So Philadelphia, Ben Simmons, the power forward out of LSU. Lakers would draft Brandon Ingram. They think Boston would take Buddy Hield. A big gamble here, and this is why. Marquese Chriss has gone from 15th on some draft boards all the way up to 3rd on others. Chris Dunn to the Minnesota Timberwolves, which I actually think would be a fantastic place for the advanced body of Chris Dunn. He's big, he's strong, he's got an NBA-ready body, and he has a 4-year experience over at Providence. I've actually got to see him play when he was at URI a couple times, and I've always enjoyed his game. Jamal Murray, a little bit taller, but also a little bit thinner. Coming out of Kentucky would be 6th. Dragon Bender, the dopest name on the entire list. Actually, maybe Domantas Sabonis from Gonzaga would go 8th. Patel at #9, the big guy out of Utah, 7-1. And then Jaylen Brown, who was originally a top 5 pick and has dropped down, which I think he should go higher than that. I'm a big fan of Jaylen Brown as well. All right, Andre, there's a lot to break down when it comes to the 2016 NBA draft. Going into older drafts, or at least the past 2 or 3 years, I feel like they were a little bit more predictable than this. But because of guys like Marquise Chris that keep fluctuating, and Jaylen Brown from top to bottom, and Demetrius Jackson from top to bottom, we don't know where these guys are going to go. We might be in store for a roller coaster of a draft. I'm curious your thoughts on, of course, Simmons and Ingram, and then after that, what the hell do we expect?
That's an open-ended way to, what are your thoughts on the draft?
What do you think is going to happen?
So I'll start at the top. It does, I guess, at least the sources are saying that Ben Simmons is a definite for Philly. I liked your last Boy Scout reference when you were discussing that. So the thing with Simmons and why, even though Ingram has kind of the pedigree of what it seems like teams are looking for in the 2016-17 NBA environment, right, where, teams are looking for shooters, and he's got kind of that, Kevin Durant-ish type game.
That's the comp it says, which I always love. You look at, and this is where I like Hoops Hype. I'm a fan of their stuff. I just think that sometimes when they put the comp, they should put absolute ceiling next to it.
Yeah.
So when it says Brandon
everything
Ingram,
goes perfectly,
he could be Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big
I definitely
step.
would say that's more of like a stylistic comp than than that's who he is.
Exactly.
I think was NBADraft.net. Somebody had his comp is either Kevin Durant or Tayshaun Prince. It's like there's a little bit of a difference between those two, as players. But the thing I like about Simmons and the way I think he fits into kind of tomorrow's NBA is he's Greek Freak 2.0. I mean, we saw Giannis Antetokounmpo move to the. Say what?
You nailed it. That's perfect.
Thank you. I was practicing that in the mirror before I came out here.
There you go.
But we saw him move to the point guard last year, kind of in a full-time basis with Milwaukee, and we saw that his game and the team's game just moved up incredibly because he's the same type as far as Simmons goes, as being like a on-ball creator. He can do things with the ball, but he doesn't have that kind of pure jumper that you like on the wings these days.
Right.
So, just let him be the ball handler. And that kind of helps to hide the fact that he's not the greatest shooter. That plus the fact that he's 6'9", 6'10", can jump out of the gym, that helps a little bit too. So
Right.
I think that's probably where Simmons has the biggest upside and how he might fit onto this Philadelphia team, even better than somebody like Ingram. At some point, you just kind of have to go with talent. As far as the rest of the draft and the volatility, it's interesting. You showed the Hoops Hype mock draft. NBA Draft.net has theirs. ESPN has theirs. If it seems like there is a little bit of volatility, but it's more so in the order that most of the names are the same. Jaylen Brown and Marquese Chriss are kind of the two that, at least on the mock drafts, flip-flop the most. And so it makes it sound big if you say, well, one draft has Jaylen Brown number 4, number 3, and another one has him at 10. That seems like a huge range, but it seems like all the picks between 4 and 10 are projected to be, about the same. I think that, I pay attention to the Celtics. I have some history with them, and it seems that the message boards anyway have been kind of warming to the idea of Jaylen Brown possibly being a Celtic. So I could see him maybe going there. Honestly, I don't think he's the greatest fit. Like I would, if I were the Celtics, I would look elsewhere.
I agree.
But if he goes to them, that makes him a top 3 pick. If he doesn't, then maybe he does slide to 10 to Milwaukee.
Which is a great pick for Milwaukee if it goes. That's what's so interesting about it, is that we're not going to know obviously until draft day, but Milwaukee could come away with a guy who could have gone number 3 or number 4. Now, of course, Buddy Hield's gotten a lot of traction, and they're talking about, we just mentioned talking about practice before the show. Talking about practice is Buddy Hield, I think 85 of 100 from the three-point line at Boston Celtics camp, right? Well, it is just practice. Let's see what he can do. But that means, Celtics fans out there are like, does that mean Buddy Hield's an 85% three-point shooter? All right, so
yeah, of course, mark it down, put it in the bank.
Mark it down, 85%. It's going to be revolutionary. Andre, we're going to play GM for a second because you know a lot about the Minnesota Timberwolves, obviously with the KG following, and of course one of the most fun League Pass teams to watch. Would you take Kris Dunn or Jamal Murray? Because it seems like that there's a point guard going to Minnesota, given Ricky Rubio's injury history. He's not old; he's only 25. But a guy like Kris Dunn and a guy like Jamal Murray could come in and be an immediate impact player with an already youthful team around him and a powerhouse awaiting to happen in Karl-Anthony Towns.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question because, with a team like Minnesota, Rubio he's a question mark. And not only does he have the injury history and now they're talking about him being okay with being traded if the team doesn't do well.
Right.
But by the same token, he's still so young. I mean, he's been in the league for a while, and he's like, what, 25, 24, or something like that?
Him and Kyrie are very similar in age.
Yeah, like he very easily could still be a building block for that team. And so when I look at the Timberwolves, obviously Towns he's locked in.
Oh,
Wiggins is locked in. Rubio could be. So to answer your question, to me, I look more at a player like Murray just because of the fact that he's a shooter. Like, I feel like that's what the Timberwolves need more than anything else. So Murray, or if he's still there, Buddy Hield, are like the two that seem like they make the most sense for the team as currently constructed.
Right.
Now, if the team knows that they're not keeping Rubio, that he's just definitely gone, then maybe that brings Dunn back into play.
So what's interesting about Kris Dunn, too, is, and this is what I look at, like, Tibbs is coming in, and obviously a defensively minded mastermind. I was very harsh on Tibbs. I used to be harsh on a lot of coaches. Call it immaturity. I'm growing up a little bit. But he's a defensive wizard. He was, as an assistant coach, he was fantastic. And with the Bulls, he was a major part of making them a contender in the East. Kris Dunn, one of his biggest strengths is his size and his ability to play on defense. So I wonder how much conversation is going on between Tibbs and front office and general management. But also, again, a guy like Jamal Murray, it's tough. You have One that would be a coach's dream draft pick, you would think, in a defensive-minded player, and another, as you mentioned, that could be better for tomorrow's NBA. So you're talking a great butting of heads. I'm talking, when it comes to being in a draft room or the back room, I'd love to be in that one with the Minnesota Timberwolves, just to hear those conversations play out, because it's not an easy decision. All right, so because we're running out of time, before we wrap up, I guess we got to talk about this one. Marquese Chriss, if you've been following, which I know you have, message boards and everything else, this guy's draft stock has skyrocketed from 3 months ago till now. His NBA Draft Express profile, his strengths and weaknesses, pretty much say that he's not developed enough yet. He's got tough footwork in the paint, but he can shoot the three. So you got to draft him because he's a big man who can shoot. Where do you stand on Marquese Chriss?
I'm not completely sold on him yet. He is, again, we started talking about today's NBA. You're talking about a stretch 4, stretch 5. That's certainly got value. At least that style of player has value. But it just seems like some of the players that were slotted to go, in the top 10 are either a lot more proven or at least have as much upside. So this just feels like the type of draft where once you get past the Simmonses and maybe the Ingrams, players 3 through 11 are all on a similar level. You can make an argument for any of them. So I don't feel like Chriss has to be shot up to the top of the draft board, or, if he goes at 11 or 12, then, I don't feel like that's him sliding. I think there's just a lot of guys all in that same realm that you just kind of look at your team and look at the fit and just kind of go for it.
For sure. So I actually agree with that 100%. I think there's a little bit too much hype on Marquese Chriss, although I've been watching NBA Draft Express strengths and weaknesses profiles. My head's going to explode because we don't have any NBA season left, and it makes me very sad. But we might be going to Summer League. We'll be at Summer League, but in terms of covering it, we're trying to figure out some of those details. So if you're in Las Vegas and you're not like me, who will try to stay away from the tables the entire week, you can find us at the Thomas and Mack Center at the gym, checking out some of the new rookies and sophomores playing in Summer League. It should be very exciting. Foot Locker has a new commercial out already featuring Ben Simmons alongside Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, and D'Angelo Russell, who really went there.
Yes, he did.
Yo, Karl, nice gear. Foot Locker?
No doubt.
So any advice now that I've been drafted?
Getting drafted doesn't mean a thing. Now the real work starts. This isn't college. This is a grown man's league. Tell him, Devin.
That's right. Nothing comes easy anymore.
Anything else I should know, D'Angelo?
Got a phone? Trust me.
Like, favorite, and subscribe. You know what? If you get the top 10 draft order correct in our comments section below, we'll send you a swag bag of sorts. We'll get you a T-shirt, TYT Sports T-shirt.
Swag.
That'll be a fun one to get some interaction going. I don't know if anybody's going to do it. That's a tough one, given what could happen on draft day. But get the top 10 correct in order, right? Just by teams who draft them. If they're trades, we'll find an exception in there. But top 10 in order of players chosen, and we'll get you a free T-shirt from TYT Sports. Make sure to follow Andre Snelling's at Professor DRZ on Twitter. Check out rotowire.com and check out Fansided, the Nylon Calculus, to check out some good articles over there as well. At JasonRubin91 for both, and at TYT Sports. We'll see you guys next time.